This is Indian Country Today.
Esquili, thank you for joining us. I'm Patty Thalahungva. Here are the headlines for Tuesday, December 15th. Indian Health Services facilities across the country now have the COVID-19 vaccine. The Cass Lake Hospital in Minnesota received its first shipment yesterday. In New Mexico, Navajo Nation police officers helped transport the vaccines to an ultra-cold freezer at the Gallup Indian Medical Center. Captain Jefferson Freddy, a Navajo, is the second IHS employee to receive the vaccine. The Hopi people whose tribal lands are in northern Arizona are waiting to hear when they'll receive the COVID-19 vaccine. The Hopi had a large summer spike of COVID cases, and tribal leaders continue to urge everyone to follow pandemic protocols. The tribe's reservation is located inside the Navajo Nation, which also saw a huge surge this summer. The Hopi Department of Health and Human Services released a graph breaking down the numbers of positive cases by village. To date, the Hopi Healthcare Center has tested more than 6,000 patients. As you can see in the graph, the number of cases are going up in this winter season. While the standoff continues at the Red House in Portland, the barricades are coming down. The standoff began in early December when a developer bought the home at an auction, leaving Julie Metcalf Kinney, who is Indigenous, and her husband, who is Black, without a place to live. The family had fallen behind on mortgage payments. Portland has had several protests over housing issues due to predatory lending practices. Mayor Ted Wheeler announced an agreement in principle between the Kinneys and the developer, who says he's willing to sell the house back to them at the price he paid, $260,000. The Kinneys are one of the last remaining Black homeowners in a neighborhood that's been gentrified in the last 20 years. The lot next to them sold for $10 million. When road crews uncovered a shell mound burial ground in Richmond, California, city officials followed legal protocol and notified area tribes who could honor and care for the items found. What happened next, though, wasn't in the statutes. It was, according to one tribal elder, an example of miracles brought on by the ancestors. Stuart Huntington has more.
Richmond budgets 1.5% of major projects for public art, and after the shell mound discovery, officials knew that the art had to honor the city's Ohlone heritage. They consulted Native leaders from the start, and the approach was hailed as a breakthrough.
There's nothing that's been specifically created with our people in mind and involved in the planning and so this is a beautiful thing. And yes, I'm hoping that this will be something that we could showcase to other cities.
Finding the right artist was key, and sculptor Masayuki Nagase, who goes by Yuki, was a perfect fit.
The way he works is he meets with the tribal members many times, and he works extensively with them to develop what that project will be.
Yuki's designs spring from an openness to traditional Native culture.
They lived by the creek and they collected and made living in the natural environment. And one of the very important elements of the life is oak tree. And acorns they collected, and that's a life staple for them.
The work includes planters for tribal members to raise traditional and medicinal plants.
So there's white sage, there's California strawberries, there is angelica roots, soap root plants.
And others. The results, say Gould, are special.
You know, when we stepped onto that land and we saw the magic that was in those stones that Yuki made, it was beyond our imagination what something like this could be.
There are several bands of Ohlone people in the San Francisco Bay Area. They still have many battles to fight to protect shell mound sites, but in recent years they have had some successes, capped by this new park in the North Bay town of Richmond.
It has been this domino effect of people with good hearts reaching out to the tribe to do this really great work. You know, it's miracles that's happening right now, really, you know, and I give all of that credit to these ancestors that prayed for us for thousands of years on this land, that are ready to have their story told in the way that it should be told.
In Richmond, California, Stuart Huntington, Indian Country Today.
When it's safe to gather again, tribal leaders plan to hold an opening ceremony. And those are the headlines from Indian Country today for Tuesday, December 15th. I'm Patty Thalahungva. Coming up, we'll talk with the newly elected chairman of the Northern Arapaho tribe. As 2020 comes to an end, new leadership will take over the White House and also at many tribal headquarters, including the Northern Arapaho tribe in Wyoming. The pandemic changed the way candidates campaigned and is also an additional challenge when it comes to leading people in this global crisis. Our guest today is the newly elected chairman of the Northern Arapaho tribe, Jordan Dresser. Welcome, Chairman Dresser.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Tell us what motivated you to run for tribal chairman, especially in the middle of a pandemic.
Just like everybody else in the country, I've been ready for change and I've been hungry for change. So I just kept thinking about who was going to be the candidate that I was going to believe in and who was going to be the candidate that was going to take this tribe to a better place. And I kept thinking about it. And finally I thought, well, maybe it could be me. Maybe I could be that person. So that's what started the initial thought in my head. And then I started thinking of different ideas that I wanted to do. I thought about the power of going green. I thought about, using my journalism background and what kind of leader I was going to be. So I slowly started clicking everything together in my head. And then I just decided to do it. I just said, okay, now's the time. We're in the middle of a pandemic and things are crazy, but it's a challenge, but it's a challenge I was up for.
Were you happy with the way your tribe was handling the pandemic? It started back in March when it really hit the U.S. and, for different tribes across the country, the pandemic came in different waves. But for your tribe in particular, were you happy with the way leadership was handling the pandemic?
In the beginning, the Arapaho tribe was really progressive. The Arapaho tribe shut down very quickly and had stay-at-home orders and told people to stay home and the workers and things like that. So they were really aggressive, and then testing was going on. We have a facility called Wind River Cares, which really stepped up and was really trying to make sure everybody was safe. So I feel like they did a really good job. And then, towards the end, I think it was just kind of pandemic fatigue. And over time, I think we just kind of started laxing in places where we shouldn't have. And we saw, especially now, you see so many more spikes. So it's just we have to maintain that idea of staying home, wearing a mask, and just avoiding large crowds as much as possible. I believe in the power of Zoom. I believe in the power of doing those different things, and I believe in the power of being safe. So I just feel like we have to maintain those ideas, and as leaders, we gotta do that as well, and because we're setting the standard. So we have to make sure that we wear masks. We got to make sure that we stay home as much as possible, and we got to make sure that we follow the guidelines.
And so what will you be changing in terms of any kind of tribal mandates to have people stay home? Or, some tribes actually had fines if you violated the ordinance, or not, maybe, the recommendation to stay home, to not go out unless it's, some kind of emergency. They had fines. Are you at that point? What kind of changes are you going to make?
There are different fines set in place. I think the bad part or the hard part is how do you enforce it all? Different people have been talking about that. And the thing about Wind River, it's so large, and we share it also with the Shoshone tribe, the Eastern Shoshone tribe. So it's there's so many different layers to this. But overall, for me, the big thing is that I practice what I preach. And, so for me, when I'm in public, I wear a mask. And I haven't traveled, for work or anything like that. And I don't see that for a long time for us as a council. And I've told all of them that. I'm like, I don't see us traveling till next year, in the middle of summer. once we get everything handled. And to me, it's just the power of being with your people and showing them like, hey, I'm in this with you as well. So that's just the key thing I've been doing. And I just really believe in that. And it's just being safe.
So in the big news today is the vaccine is starting to roll out and hit Indian country. When do you expect to have some vaccines for your people?
Actually, this week and the next coming weeks, we're going to have conversations with Wind River Cares, and we're going to start coordinating that. I believe in the power of strategic planning. So to me, it's like communicating and see when we're going to get the vaccine and how we're going to distribute it and how we're going to do all that. So those conversations are happening right now. Just like everybody else, I'm excited, I have questions about it as well. And it's really good to always question the things you're taking and the different side effects and things like that. But I feel like this is like a silver lining for us, and it's exciting, but it's only as good as the plan that you have. So to me, it's just like, we're going to prioritize, create concrete plans in place, and just really see what this is going to bring for Wind River.
And will you be getting the vaccine?
Yes, I will be. I really will be. I have asthma. So, I've been scared this entire pandemic as well, because I always felt like if I caught it, I was going to be really laid out, because I've seen so many people, my age and younger who caught it, and they were just out, they just had really hard time bouncing back. So for me, I was always really scared, and I want to do it. But also how I view it is it's an extra layer of protection. Like when you get it, you still should wear a mask, and you still should social distance, and you should still keep those precautions in place. It's just, don't think of it as like you're all protection. Think of it as an extra layer, but still wear a mask, still stay home, still social distance. And that's just going to be the best way to not catch this deadly virus.
And we're coming into, we're in the middle of the holiday season. So people are wanting to get together with their families. How are you getting that word out to, again, social distance, not be around people who you don't live with in the same household? What are you doing to get and reach your Arapaho people?
Well, we recently started a newsletter, and I think that was like a big step for us. And it was just like, because prior to that, we kind of used our Facebook and social media and things like that. But I'm really excited. I come from journalism and print and things like that. So I'm excited for a newsletter, and we're utilizing our people to write that stuff. And to me, it sounds good when it's coming from the leadership. And so to me, it's like we're communicating those things. We're saying, still stay home, still social distance. And to me, as many times as you can tell people that, whether it be print, social media, whatever, how many times you can tell people that, I think over time they'll absorb it. And the holiday season is tough. But, for all of us as Indian people, we live in multi-generational households. So therefore, we have to be safe. And as much as we would love to have those big gatherings and, it's not good. And in fact, it could be really reckless. So to me, it's just like, call each other through the phone, tell each other you love them that way, and just be safe.
Well, the pandemic, aside from that, you have to plan your year out. You're looking at economic development for your tribe. You've listed things like growing hemp, creating a solar power company or solar panels for your homes out there, a cultural center, and also food sovereignties are a few of the things that you have campaigned on and talked about. So what do you see, how do you see those different economic developments developing in this next year?
Wind River is such a beautiful place, but also it's such a perfect place for the for solar panels, for wind turbines, because it's just almost like a candy store here of the different things that you can see. We have wind, we have planes, we have all these different things that we could just utilize. And so to me, what's been exciting about my campaign and my platform is the fact that so many people have latched onto it. And so many people have said, I want to do that, especially with the hemp. The hemp is something that people are really excited about. And to me, it's just like already getting the wheels moving and going on that. We have another elected body, they're called Economic Development. And we've had a lot of conversations with them as well. And they're on board for these different things. And it's just like, we need to work as a team to make these things happen. And to me, the pandemic showed not only probably the Northern Arapaho tribe, but tribes across the nation about how the fact we have to diversify, because everything shut down. For a lot of tribes, their biggest source of revenue is gaming. And it was smart to close down the gaming facilities. But in return, tribes don't have income. But if you think about it, if we had hemp, it would still be growing during the pandemic. And if we had solar panels, it'd be still collecting heat. Those things would still be moving. And so to me, this really just showed the dire need that we have to move into this direction.
And so diversifying your economy, have you set goals for your first 100 days in office?
I was very ambitious. And in the beginning, I was like, I'm gonna jump right in, I'm gonna start doing these things. But then I'm kind of realizing, okay, I need to learn the day-to-day operations of this mechanism. And there's so many moving pieces to it, And so to me, my view right now is I'm kind of stabilizing the tribe. I'm really looking at everything. I'm really looking at every department, all the finances, all those different things like that. And I'm seeing, okay, where can we make changes? Where can we make things that make sense? And also having concrete policies and procedures set in place for the tribe to follow. So that's a big thing. But, I'm slowly planting the seeds of everything else, and especially with the hemp part. Like, to me, it's already, I put that on everybody's radar. And I said, okay, we're going to start looking at those different things, and we're going to create a strategic plan. I believe in the power of a strategic plan, and creating that and saying, this is when we're going to do it. And these are our goals. These are our objectives. So to me, those are the big things I have. So at the end of the 100 days, I want to have a lot of strategic plans placed out.
Now, you mentioned your background as being a journalist, and you actually produced a documentary called What Was Ours? Are you working on more documentaries? Are they on hold right now?
I'm actually finishing up a documentary right now. It is called Home from School, The Children of Carlisle. Back in 2017, the Northern Arapaho tribe brought back 3 children who died and were buried at the Carlisle Indian Boarding School. So the documentary highlights that journey, and it highlights the tribe's fight to basically do that. So right now it's in the editing phases. It's almost done. Like, I just seen a rough cut the other day, just kind of making notes and things like that. And it's really beautiful. And it really tells a really important, rich story. And I'm finishing up with that. I'm also directing my first film. I'm doing a film about the missing and murdered Indigenous women movement. I was approached by the state who wanted to do that. And they selected me as the director. So I wanted to do it, but I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to do a traditional documentary where, we're going to interview everybody and we're going to talk about it. I really want to highlight the women and tell their stories. And the film's going to be animated. So we're working with an animator from Minnesota. And in a way, I feel like we're telling these women's stories, and in a way, we're bringing them back to life. And we're saying, this is my life. This is what I love to do. This was my favorite color. This is where I grew up at. And really let viewers know who these women are.
Well, you've got a lot on your plate there, Chairman. Thank you so much for joining us. Chairman Jordan Dresser from the Northern Arapaho tribe.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And you all be safe.
When we come back, we'll find out more about the vaccine as it makes its way to Indian country. It's the news we've been waiting for, a vaccine for the novel coronavirus, and now the medicine is making its way to Indian Health Services medical centers across the country. National correspondent Dalton Walker joins us now to talk about the rollout. Welcome, Dalton.
Bonjour, Patty. Miigwech for having me.
So which hospitals received the first doses yesterday?
So on Monday, we learned last week that the Food and Drug Administration approved the COVID-19 vaccine. And on Monday, it was rolled out to healthcare facilities across the U.S. and Indian country. And we were curious, like, which one out of the Indian health Health Services got the first one, and we learned that it was this smallerish hospital up in northern Minnesota on the Leech Lake Indian Reservation. And it was kind of neat just to kind of document that historic moment and capture it.
Was it the Cass Lake Hospital that received the first vaccines?
Yes, it was the Cass Lake IHS Hospital on Leech Lake. I understand that there was 10 vaccines given out yesterday, 5 for frontline workers and then 5 for elders.
How many doses do they expect to receive there for the tribe?
I spoke with the tribe health director, Vince Rock, and he said that the hospital side will receive 100 by Friday, and then the tribe will receive 100 for elders, and anyone who's for the elders who are, especially the ones who might be have a little more health issues. And that's only Friday, and he expects once a second vaccine is approved, they'll receive more in the coming weeks.
And so right now they're receiving the vaccine from Pfizer and BioNTech. And did anybody express any concern about taking the virus, getting the shot?
Vince Rock kind of explained that to me. He said that they had a strong push earlier this year to get the word out related to the flu shot, and that he credits as kind of transparent and kind of open of how the safety measures that would be in place, what they plan to do, and he attributes that to why more people are coming forward to show interest in receiving the COVID-19 vaccine. He even said more people were reaching out to him yesterday after they learned of the initial event on Monday. And it was kind of neat to hear this type perspective. We don't often get to go out because of the pandemic, and at the most we don't want to go out and possibly affect our elders. But just learning about what happened up in Leech Lake, they had a small ceremony, a private ceremony to acknowledge that the vaccine was there, and a few elders were the first to take it, and one of them had a ribbon skirt on. It just seemed like an historic moment, and one of those moments you probably would never forget if you were there in person.
Oh, it sounds really nice that they had that vaccine and then they acknowledged it in their traditional way.
Yeah, and just from learning on where it's all going, I believe the Cherokee Nation mentioned that they got nearly 1,000 doses on Monday, and they were going to start distributing them today to first responders, elders, and Cherokee speakers. So it shows you how tribes are priority wise with the culture and the importance of who should be one of the first ones to get this vaccine that potentially could save more lives.
And the vaccine is a two-part vaccine. So they get the first dose and then they have to return a couple of days later and get a second dose.
The way Pfizer has recommended is that you get one, and 21 days later you come back and get a second one, and it's for people 16 and older right now, and it sounds like that's kind of going to be the norm with future vaccines too, regarding the multiple shots.
And then the third IHS facility that you wrote about was the Gallup facility, which also received some doses.
Yeah, this one wasn't a surprise because we all know the Navajo Nation has been hit pretty hard regarding COVID-19, unfortunately, with a lot of deaths. And we heard that the Gallup Indian Medical Center received a distribution, and it was going to be redistributed up on Navajo yesterday. So I believe this week we should start learning a little more where it is, who's getting it, and kind of what the plan is.
And what about urban Indian health centers? Any word on when those facilities will be getting the vaccine?
From my understanding, I believe some of them have probably already got it or will be getting it. like I mentioned earlier, Monday was the first day for everyone across the US, and it's only going to keep going with that momentum. I believe Pfizer's vaccine has to be in a super cold freezer, so whoever has this proper infrastructure will be able to house this, I believe, and I think it's only a matter of time before it hits more facilities.
There is a big winter storm that's crossing the U.S. right now, and I heard a report this morning saying that that could also potentially impact the delivery of this vaccine. So we'll follow that story and see how that storm may impact. And it's interesting because, of course, it's a snowstorm, and so it's going to be very cold. So it would just be a delay, perhaps, of the vaccine rollout. But we'll continue to follow that story. And a reminder, you can read Dalton's story, First COVID-19 Vaccine Hits Indian Country, on our website. Thank you, Dalton, for joining us.
Thank you, Patty.
And thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. Your life is precious. I'm Patty Thohungva. Join us again tomorrow.
You got to take a stand just because you know you can. Oh, you got to run, you got to run.
Indian Country Today is recorded at the Phoenix Indian School Visitor Center in Phoenix, Arizona.
This is Indian Country Today.